Well, hello again. Welcome again to another episode of Down to Earth but Heavenly Minded. Well, the things that we are covering in this podcast, these last couple that we have covered, in the next few that we will cover, are really not pleasant subjects. I mean, we were talking about leprosy last session. It was quite long, and believe it or not, this next chapter that we're going to go through is a little longer too, and it's about the cleansing of the leopards. And also, when we get into the next chapter after that, it's even going to be another chapter, and it's going to talk about bodily discharges. These are subjects that we don't like to talk about or even cover, but it's all part of the Word of God, so let's just go to it and just bear with me as we go through these chapters that we usually don't like to go through. Uh, but they're all part of the Word of God. And to me, it shows uh, the difference between us and God. God is so holy, and we are so unholy in our flesh. And it's because of sin. If sin would have never entered the world, we wouldn't have all this. And we can't even imagine a world without sin. So let's just look through Leviticus 14, the law of the cleansing of the leopard. And like I said, this is a little longer chapter, so let's go through it quick. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, This shall be the law of the leprous person, for in the day that is for his cleansing, shall be brought to the priest, and the priest shall go out of the camp, and the priest shall look. Then, if the case of the leprous disease is healed in the leprous person, the priest shall command them to take for him who is to be cleansed 2 live clean birds, and cedar wood, and scarlet yarn, and hyssop. And the priest shall command them to kill one of the birds in an earthen vessel over fresh water, and he shall take the live bird and the cedar wood and the scarlet yarn and the hyssop, and dip them and the live bird in the blood. Oh, wow. It's unusual. The bird that was killed over the fresh water, and he shall sprinkle it 7 times on him who is to be cleansed and of the leprous disease. And he shall pronounce him clean, and shall let the living bird go into an open field. And he who is to be cleansed shall wash his clothes and shave off all the hair, and bathe himself in water, and he shall be clean. Then after that he may come into the camp, but live outside his tent for 7 days. And on the 7th day he shall shave off all his hair from his head, and his beard, and his eyebrows, and he shall shave off all his hair, and then he shall wash his clothes, and bathe his body in water, and shall be clean. And on the 8th day he shall take 2 male lambs without blemish, and 1 ewe lamb a year old without blemish, and a grain offering of 3/10 of an ephah of fine flour with oil, mixed with oil, and 1 log of oil. And the priest who cleanses him shall set the man who is to be clean in these things before the Lord of the entrance of the tent of meeting. And the priest shall take one of the male lambs and offer it as a guilt offering along with the log of oil and wave them for a wave offering before the Lord. And he shall kill the lamb in the place where they kill the sin offering and the burnt offering in the place of the sanctuary for the guilt offering. Like the sin offering belonging to the priest, it is most holy. The priest shall take some of the blood of the guilt offering, and the priest shall put it on the lobes of the right ear of him who is to be cleansed, and on the thumb of the right hand, and on the big toe of the right foot. Then the priest shall take some of the log of the oil, pour it into the palms of his own left hand, and dip his right finger in the oil that is in his left hand, and sprinkle some of the oil with his finger 7 times before the Lord. And some of the oil that remains in his hand the priest shall put on the lobe of the right ear of him who is to be cleansed, and on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot, on top of the blood of the guilt offering. And the rest of the oil that is in the priest's hands he shall put on the head of him who is to be cleansed. Then the priest shall make atonement for him before the Lord. The priest shall offer the sin offerings to make atonement for him who is to be cleansed from the uncleanness. And afterwards he shall kill the burnt offering, and the priest shall offer the burnt offering and the grain offering on the altar. Thus the priest shall make atonement for him, and he shall be clean. But if he is poor and cannot afford so much, then he shall take 1 male lamb of the guilt offering to be waved to be an atonement for him, and 1/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with oil, and a grain offering, and a log of oil, and also 2 turtle doves and 2 pigeons, whichever he can afford, and one shall be a sin offering, and the other a burnt offering. And on the 8th day he shall bring them for a cleansing to the priest, to the entrance of the tent of meeting before the Lord. And the priest shall take the lamb of the guilt offering and a log of oil, and the priest shall wave them for a wave offering before the Lord. And he shall kill the lamb of the guilt offering, and the priest shall take some of the blood of the guilt offering, and put it on the lobe of the ear of him who is to be clean, and on the thumb of his right hand, and the big toe of his right foot. And the priest shall pour some of the oil into the palms of his left hand, and sprinkle with his finger some of the oil that is left, and 7 times before the Lord. And the priest shall put some of the oil that he has in his left hand on the lobe of the right ear of him who is cleansed, and on the thumb of his right hand, and on and on the right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot. And the place that the blood of the guilt offering was put. And the rest of the oil that is in the priest's hand he shall put on the head of him who is to be cleansed, to make atonement for him before the Lord, and shall offer shall offer of a turtle dove or a pigeon, whichever he can afford, one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering, along with the grain offering. And the priest shall make atonement before the Lord for him who is to be cleansed. This is the law for him who is a case of a leprous disease, who cannot afford the offerings for his cleaning. Now we come to the law of the cleaning of the house. And houses could get leprosy as well, and the walls. Then the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, when you come into the land of Canaan, which I will give you for a possession, and I put a case of a leprous disease in a house, uh, I lost my place here. Oh, yeah, in the land of your possession. Then he who owns the house shall come and tell the priest, there seems to me to be some case of a disease in the house. Then the priest shall command that they empty the house before the priest goes to examine the disease, lest all that is in the house be declared unclean. And afterwards the priest shall go in to see the house, and he shall examine the disease, and if the disease is in the walls of the house with a greenish reddish spot, and it appears to be deeper than the surface, then the priest shall go out of the house to the door and the house uh, and shut up the house 7 days. And the priest shall come again and the seventh day and look. And if the disease has spread in the walls of the house, then the priest shall command that they take out the stones in which the disease is diseased and throw them into an unclean place outside the city. And he shall have the inside of the house scraped all around, and the plaster that they scrape off, they shall pour out in an unclean place outside the city. Then they shall take other stones and put them in place of these stones, and he shall take other plaster and plaster the house. And if the disease breaks out again in the house after he has taken out the stones and scraped the house and plastered it, then the priest shall go and look. And if the disease has spread in the house, it is a persistent leper disease in the house, it is unclean. And he shall break down the house, its stones and timbers, and all the plaster of the house, and he shall carry them out of the city to an unclean place. Moreover, whoever enters the house while it is shut up shall be unclean until evening, and whoever sleeps in the house shall wash his clothes, and whoever eats in the house shall wash his clothes. But the priest shall come and look, and if the disease has not spread in the house after the house was plastered, then the priest shall pronounce the house clean, and disease is healed. And for the cleansing of the house, he shall take 2 small birds with cedar wood and scarlet yarn and hyssop, and shall kill one of the birds in an earthen vessel over fresh water, and shall take the cedar wood and the hyssop and the scarlet yarn along with the 5 birds, and dip them in the blood of the bird that was killed, and in a fresh water, and sprinkle the house 7 times. Thus he shall cleanse the house with the blood of the bird, and with the fresh water, and with the live bird, and with the hyssop, and the cedar wood, and hyssop, and scarlet yarn. And he shall let the live bird go out of the city into the country. So he shall make atonement for the house, and it shall be clean. This is the law for any case of the leprous disease, for an itch, for the leper's disease in the garment or in the house, and for the swelling or of the eruption or a spot, to show when it is unclean or whether it is clean. This is the law of the leprous disease. Well, that completes our reading today, and tomorrow we'll have another chapter that is not pleasant to read, but we're going to go through this and we're going to finish the book of Leviticus and our textbook for life, the Bible. So with that said, bye for now.